So, there was this guy named George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. Hegel was one of those philosophers guys, as in he thinks and talks a lot, to the annoyance of his friends and family, but then one of these days he thought of this great idea and decided to write it down on a piece of paper. The idea he thought was, dialectical arguments. So, what is dialectical arguments? Asked Hegel. But, before we get into that, let's talk about truth. There's a lot of debate around the truth, whether we can find it, whether it exists at all, but one thing that all the philosophers agreed on is that the truth is really complicated and really hard to grasp with. Hence the truth is represented by this lock. Like all locks, it needed a key to be opened, and like all philosophers, Hegel wanted to open the truth. So, through years of hard work and dedication, Hegel found the key for the lock, and he called it dialectical arguments. Hegel then used dialectical arguments to unlock the truth. So, where do we begin our search for dialectical arguments? Well, like all good divorces, it begins with an argument. In this case, a thesis is formed. It's important to point out that Hegel didn't actually use these terminologies in his writings. The concept of thesis and antithesis was coined by Immanuel Kant. A thesis could be anything from, "I think pineapple on pizza tastes good," to something like, "Water is liquid." Now that we have a thesis, the next part of the puzzle is antithesis, a contradiction. Now be aware, an antithesis need not be a direct opposite of the thesis. In most cases, it should be a counter-argument that puts the thesis into question. I like to call it the actually statement. In my experience, the actually is best visualized to be spoken by an annoying character. So for this example, let's imagine Hegel saying something along the line of, actually, when water is boiled at 100 degrees Celsius, it transitions from a liquid state to a gas state. I know, right? So what now? You have two statements that, by their own, only tell a small portion of the truth. But when worked together, the thesis and the antithesis creates something entirely new. Hegel calls this the synthesis. And the synthesis is as close as you can get to the truth, giving the information you have available. So, by combining these two arguments, we realize that water can either be a liquid or gas, depending on the temperature. But what about ice, the solid state of water? Well, this goes into the constant state of motion that all things go through, which Hegel described in his writings. This means that you can always question what you have learned by creating a new argument against it, from which you can synthesize a fuller, better truth. Lessons from Hegel. First, finding truth is a process which requires the acknowledgement of two contradicting arguments. Second, finding truth is a process of synthesizing two contradicting arguments. Third, finding truth is a constant process of finding new information to put into question what you have previously learned.